Hi, I'm Vicky Fang, and I'm a children's book author, and I will share some of my books with you. This is Invent-A-Pet. This is illustrated by Tidwan Taipinarong and came out with Sterling Children's Books. And from there, I moved on to do an early chapter book series called Layla and the Bots. And this is a series that came out with Scholastic Branches. There are 3 out now. There's a 4th one coming out soon. And these are illustrated by Christine Nishiyama. After that, I wrote a board book series called I Can Code. These came out with Source Books and are illustrated by Jade Orlando. And then I just released my author illustrator debut, Friend Bots. So these came out with Harper Alley, and I wrote and illustrated them. So as you can see, I love exploring different formats, and I rely heavily on mentor texts to help me learn about a new category. So today I'm going to talk about how I moved into writing early chapter books. So the Layla and the Bots series. So I'm going to talk about early chapter books. I'm going to share a few mentor texts and talk about what to look for as you're reading chapter books. There's sort of a wide range of how chapter books are done. So I'm going to be talking specifically about early chapter books, so targeting sort of kindergarten through 3rd grade early readers. And let me talk about some of the things that are common in these books. So they're often sort of this form factor, the sort of half page. They are often heavily illustrated, though the amount of illustrations can vary. They tend to be series, and they often have back matter. So I'll show you. So in the back of the Layla and Bots books, for example, there's a DIY activity that you can do at home, and then some reading comprehension questions. So that's kind of the area that we're looking at. There's a range within that format. So I'm going to talk about those and look at some books that inspired me and some of the things that I learned from them along the way. So hopefully you get some ideas about what to look for as you read chapter books, and hopefully get excited and inspired about this format. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the Scholastic Branches line, because that is really what inspired me to start writing chapter books. I was writing picture books only, and my agent actually suggested that I look at the Scholastic Branches line. So I began reading those books. And if you're familiar with the Scholastic Branches line, you may know that they have 2 different levels. So there's ages 5 to 7, and these are 80-page full color books, and they're about 1,000 to 2,000 words. So Boris on the Move, Owl Diaries, there are a ton of great ones, and they're all fantastic. And these are, heavily illustrated. And then the next level in the Scholastic Branches line is for ages 6 to 8. And these go up a little. So these are 96 pages, black and white, but still heavily illustrated. And about 5,000 to 6,000 words. So there are a ton of Scholastic Branches books to check out. Like I said, they're all fantastic. My kids love them, teachers love them. But I'm going to talk specifically about Boris today, because this is one of the ones that inspired me and taught me a lot as I was writing Layla and the Bots. So Boris is about, I think it's a warthog, I'm not sure, who wants to explore the world. He lives in a bus that his parents used to have adventures in, but the bus hasn't moved in a long time. So I'm going to show you a few things here. So this first page, meet Boris. He's a lot like you. And then there's an illustration pointing out some of Boris's favorite things. So this is a fairly common mechanic in early chapter books, to just sort of quickly introduce you to the character, get you hooked into this endearing personality, and just dive into the story very quickly. So then, it introduces a little bit about Boris, and I want to talk about how these books use illustrations. So I'm going to read a couple pages to you so you can see. Boris wished the bus would travel again. Why don't we ever go anywhere? But we go to your school, our work, the shops. I mean a real trip in our bus. Well, it's not really built for travel these days. Every night, Boris looked at the map on his bedroom wall. He'd stuck little pins all over it, red ones for places he wanted to visit, and green ones for places he had. You can see it's all covered with red pins. So the thing that I love about this format is that it flips in between sort of narration and these graphic novel style dialogue bubbles. And I think it makes it really appealing because it pulls you into the story and is very engaging for kids. And that's the model that I followed for the Layla and the Bots. So you'll see there's some narration and then they go into speech bubbles. So that's one thing to look at when you're looking at chapter books is how are the illustrations being used? How is dialogue being used? How are they woven together? And certainly as I was writing this, a lot of the dialogue I put into the bubbles, but a lot of the illustrations, as opposed to picture books where you might rely on illustrations to tell something that the text is not telling or contradict the text or, say things without using words. Oftentimes in these books, the illustrations are supporting the words, so helping with comprehension. So really providing a tie for kids to understand what's going on. And of course, they can still add more details. Like Christine Nishiyama here has first Beep checks what dogs like to eat. And then there's, a funny little drawing there for kids to read into like, of course they don't like broccoli. Although I know some dogs that like broccoli. But anyway, so looking at how these books use the illustrations is important as you're looking at chapter books. Okay, so Boris is a great one to sort of get a sense of that mix of illustrations and then this character appeal and a story arc that kind of fits within a very short, the Boris books are only, 700 something words. So they're very short, which also comforted me moving from picture books to sort of know, they don't have to be super long. I think the Layla and the Bots books are all about 1,500 words. Now, like I said, chapter books span a wide range. So the next one I'm going to talk about is, and I should mention Boris is by Andrew Joyner. I forgot to mention. The next one I'm going to talk about is My Furry Foster Family by Debbie Michko-Florence, illustrated by Melanie Demmer. So this chapter book series is about a girl named Kaita, and her family takes care of foster pets. These books are about 4,000 words, and they have illustrations, but the illustrations are kind of spot illustrations to support the narration. They're not sort of woven in the way that the Boris book is. So this is another way of using illustrations in chapter books that is very common, especially for sort of the longer form books. And the thing that I wanted to talk about here, so another thing that I looked at as I was researching and studying mentor text for Layla and the Bots is the level of the language. You're looking at early readers, so the sentences are quite short. The words are not that long, so I'll read the first paragraph. Kaita knows all. The school bus pulled up to my stop. I waved goodbye to my friends and stepped off. Mom and Ollie were waiting for me. So the sentence structures are quite simple. They're short, easy for new readers to digest. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about this book because it has really great series potential. So spoiler alert, I'm going to tell you how this book ends. I'm going to read the ending to you. And you can see sort of the hook built in where, of course, there's going to be another book and another, and you just want to keep reading them. So this book, they adopt a bearded dragon. Kaita has to learn about taking care of a bearded dragon and then find the bearded dragon a home. And so here, I thought back to Friday. When Betty first came to us, I didn't know anything about bearded dragons. I learned a lot, though, in 2 days. You will all be Betty experts very soon, I said. Betty had found her forever home with my best friend. I was so happy. I couldn't wait to find out what our next foster pet would be. So it's just sort of a natural built-in series hook that there's going to be another pet and you're going to learn about a different animal. And for this age range, it's also wonderful. They love animals, the idea of taking care of these pets and learning what you need to do to take care of them. And as I mentioned, a lot of these books have back matter. Boris has back matter in it. This book has back matter. So think about it, draw it, write it, a glossary, and then stuff about how to be a foster family for pets. So this is a great one to look at. The third one that I'm going to talk about is Diary of an Ice Princess. So here we're getting up. This book is about 7,000 words. It is about Princess Lena, who is a wind tamer and wants to go to human school. And I just wanted to bring this one up because I think with the 7,000 words, you start to get a little more complexity. There's sort of the school plot line, and then there's also the family plot line. And what I love about this book is that it's written by Christina Sintronvat. Christina does such an amazing job with the voice and the plot and moving things along. So one of the things in the chapter books is, of course, now you have chapters, and how do you hook your reader to want to read the next chapter? And Diary of an Ice Princess is such a great one for that. Okay, so I'm going to read you the ending of the first 2 chapters, just so you can see how she hooks you in to want to read the next chapter. So the first chapter introduces this family and Princess Lena. And here's the ending. So I'm a wind tamer, just like Mom. I can control the wind. Well, not so much control the wind as ask it to do what I want. Sometimes it listens. Sometimes it, nope, not going to think about that right now. Everything is going to be just perfect. So it sets up this tension right away. You know something's a little bit off, and you're excited to learn more about the wind tamer and what can go wrong, and does it actually go perfectly or not? I don't think so. Okay, so I'm going to read you the end of chapter 2, and show you how that hook works. So I told myself there was no reason to be nervous because when I get nervous, things go wrong. But as soon as we got inside of Granddad's castle, I got nervous because my granddad's not some normal old granddad diary. My granddad is the North Wind. So it's really fun and exciting. You want to keep going. The plot moves very quickly. And it's almost like, each book is an episode in the Ice Princess story. So these are really fun. I recommend them. Again, there's back matter in here. This one is making mystery goop. There's a recipe to make mystery goop. And those are 3 mentor texts that I wanted to share with you. There are so many fantastic chapter books. And like I said, and like I showed you, there's a wide range of sort of word length, treatment of illustrations. So it's really great to sort of pick where you want to go and read a ton, and start to see sort of what works in terms of how much plot can go in, what characters are going to hook. A lot of the stories are quite upbeat, quite fast paced. So as you read, you want to look at word count, you want to look at plot and pace, you want to look at the level of the language, you want to think about the series potential. You want to look at the use of the illustration, the use of dialogue, what type of character and voice, and then also what type of back matter they're putting in there. And so you might find that some of your ideas, which is what happened to me, are really suited for this format. So I hope that this has given you some ideas, and happy reading.